The Nigeria Labour Congress has threatened to shut down the country for a month in protest against plans by the National Assembly to deregulate the national minimum wage. NLC's threat comes as the nation awaits a new national minimum wage following month of negotiations between organized labor and the government of Nigeria, as well as the organized private sector. NLC President Joe Ajaero declared the union's position on the sidelines of the 67th Nigeria Employers Consultative Association annual general meeting in Lagos. And as Nigeria grapples with the challenges of economic hardship, the country is faced with another daunting issue: the incessant rise in inflation. The daily increase in prices of goods and services has left many Nigerians struggling to make ends meet. Joining me now is the Director General and CEO of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, Adewale-Smatt Oyerinde. Good to see you and thanks for your time.
Thank you for having us.
I think before we delve into the economic matters, a better place to start off is NEC just had its general meeting, and new officers have been so elected.
Absolutely.
But you're still the DG.
Yeah, Director General, yeah.
And you have a new president.
Yeah, we have a freshly minted president.
And, well, let's hope that such smiles will, go around the faces of the Nigerians when we start talking about the economic situation. Yeah. Now, for NECA, which also has its own researchers who research on our economy, perhaps it's a better place to start off and let us in on what NECA thinks about the inflation that the country, unprecedented, that Nigeria is swimming in at the moment.
Well, for us, it's quite worrisome because, as we all know, in simple terms, it's persistent rise in cost of goods and services, and it has beyond the context of it. The content is more worrisome because if there is a persistent rise in cost of goods and services, that means it directly eats the disposable income of individuals. It directly eats the disposable income of the family. It reduces your capacity to buy, and once your capacity to buy is compromised, it also reduces the capacity of the business to sell. And once it reduces the capacity of the business to sell, it also affects directly the capacity of the business to expand, with potential risk for expired goods. Because if goods are not taken off by consumers, then the potential that those goods will expire after a time is also very hard. And once the business cannot meet up its sustainability quotient, then the chances is also high that that kind of business will first progressively be cutting down production, consistently cutting down capacity utilization. And at the point where it can't survive again, then it starts retrenching staffs. And as staffs are going out, you are also feeding the unemployment space. You are also creating another opportunity for insecurity to blossom. So beyond the context, that's why I say let's leave the context why it is worrisome, but the content and the multiplier effect of these issues are very, very hard. The recent one that came out was the food inflation, which was also worrisome. In my place, there's an adage that if food is taken out of poverty context, then the rest is less. So this issue of high food inflation rate is quite worrisome to us. Notwithstanding the fact that the president has approved the importation of food, which also comes with its own different dynamics.
The politics, policies, directives, how far have they helped in mitigating the effect of what Nigeria is dealing with?
Well, policies are not ends on their own. They're supposed to, they're means to an end. And the best of policies, if they are badly implemented, they will give you the wrong kind of outcome. This government have shown good intention, that they want to right the wrongs, they want to get us out of the woods. But sometimes when you reflect, you look at, okay, are those policies, some of them, are they implemented rightly? Or are they, the implementation, are they actually good enough? Let's look at the fuel subsidy issue. We canvassed for the removal of fuel subsidy for the past 15 years in the association because we know it is the way to go. But the sudden removal without gaps, without mitigating gaps, create a massive shock, not only for employees, for the households, also for organized businesses. You know, they will talk of the issue of liberalization of the foreign exchange. It also came, and currently we have a dollar clock over 1,005. One morning we woke up and we are hearing band A, band B, band C, which also creates different kind of shocks for organized businesses. So I think while we've made representation to government that there is need for us to create gaps, breathing gaps. Fortunately, the president some time ago said let the poor breathe. Yeah. And there is need for us to create gaps for citizens and businesses to breathe as we continue to implement those policies. Are those policies necessary? Absolutely, they are necessary. But the implementation must give the opportunity for businesses, for individuals, for employees to breathe.
And from the viewpoint of NACA, are the employers breathing at the moment owing to these policies and directives that we've seen coming from the presidency? Because there seems to be some kind of effort, but are they sufficient?
What I would think is what the president needs to address basically are the inherent contradictions, and I will give you examples. You know, while the Presidential Committee on Fiscal and Tax Reforms is trying to streamline the taxes so that tax payments or increase tax efficiency and effectiveness, then you still find some agencies, probably even the National Assembly, coming up with new taxes. You know. So those inherent contradictions, we have to deal with it. Before now, we have issues with petroleum refining. You know, when we didn't have petrol, when Dangote refinery was not there, when the Port Harcourt refinery was still in comatose, we have crude oil. You know, purportedly, we have crude oil we are selling. But immediately, we have those refineries are coming on board. Dangote is ready to produce and sell. Where the Port Harcourt refinery is also coming on board. Suddenly, we don't have, there's no crude to supply them. So those inherent contradictions are part of the things that the government must deal with. And especially, the government needs to build more consensus around those policies so that citizens, businesses can also line up behind those policies, because the strength of those policies and their success rate depends on how much consensus you can build around those policies.
And the talk of minimum wage, which may also help the employees and also help some of the employers, has been a big conversation that is ongoing.
Absolutely.
To the extent that the president, for the first time, is saying that, wait a minute, I don't think we should wait for any 5 years period before we start to talk about this, review. Yeah. And he's given the go for it to be rejigged and reworked. So what's the thinking of NECA now that this conversation, there's going to be a big meeting on Thursday between the president and the organized labor, as they say. So what's the reading that NECA is getting at the moment?
Well, for us, is that the issue is clear, or seemingly clear to us. The tripartite committee had met and the recommendation had been passed. And in the recommendation, part of our position, strong position, some of them are this. One, the 5 years issue you raised, we had very strong issue with it. That we leave it at 5 years for salient reasons. Now, at the sectoral levels, at the industrial levels, we have over 40 industrial groups, affiliates that belong to NECA. NSE also have different sectoral groups. Negotiation goes on every year in some sectors. They go on every 2 years in some sectors. They go on every 3 years in some sectors. Now, if you bring the national minimum wage negotiation down to 3 years, that means in some industries, they'll be going through the rigmarole, the tedious process of negotiating twice a year. So which changes the dynamics for organized businesses. So you spend before you finish negotiating, before you finish implementation of one wage series, then you are faced with negotiation of it creates some level of distortion for organized businesses, and that's why we insisted that 5 years is good, while we keep the sectoral negotiations.
Let's close on this. Does this have anything to do with the alleged move by the Parliament, the National Assembly, to decentralize the minimum wage negotiations?
Our position on that is also very strong, and we align with organized labor on this. We believe strongly that there should be a national minimum wage, the shop floor, the floor below which nobody should pay. Now, each state can negotiate their own minimum wage, but not below the national minimum wage. If you leave the minimum wage to be decentralized, then you probably, as some have said, create slave camps in some areas, create burdensome employment, indecent work in some other places. So our position is this: the minimum wage, the national minimum wage should exist, and the states can negotiate their own state minimum wage, but not below the national minimum wage. Currently, labor is in the exclusive list. To decentralize, then you have to amend the constitution to make it go into the concurrent list, which we don't think should be the issue. The fundamental issue, as some have said, and we align with those perspectives also, it is not the quantum of the minimum wage. It is the value of what it can buy.
Adewale-Smatt Oyerinde, DG NECA, many thanks for coming on Newsnight.
Thank you for having us. If you permit me, can I just say congratulations also to the new president of NECA and the new schools.
And congratulations to everyone.